Away from that, Nigeria's economy experienced a notable 3.46% year-on-year increase in gross domestic product (GDP) for the third quarter of 2024, as reported by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). This growth rate marks an improvement over both the 2.54% of recorded in the third quarter of 2023 and the 3.19% growth seen in the second quarter of 2024. The oil sector, along with expansion in non-oil activities, especially in services and agriculture, contributed significantly to this performance. The services sector was a standout, showing a robust 5.19% growth and accumulating for 53.58% of the total GDP. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians of better economic output as the economy continues to expand following the newly released third quarter gross domestic product report by the NBS. He assured that once the economy is rebased by early 2025 to capture its dynamism and record significant changes that have occurred in different sectors, the country will be on its way to shared prosperity. To discuss this, we're joined by CEO Finance with Muktar Mohammed. I think there's a bit of an error in that. Muktar, thank you very much for joining us. Apologies for the little trouble with the introduction. But let's just go on with your insights on the subject. How does the 3.46% growth in the third quarter of 2024 compare to the GDP growth rates of previous quarters in 2024 and the same period in 2023? What trends or changes can you identify?
Well, there's not so much changes. The changes are still the sectors that the government have tried to say that those are the sectors they are looking at. You're talking about the tertiary sector of the economy, that's the retail sector, which is like the service sector, like you've mentioned, agriculture, real estate, financial sectors, ICT, and others. So those are sectors that have been the key drivers in the non-oil sector of the Nigerian economy. But what they contribute to the GDP, yes, it's fantastic. But what they contribute in terms of value, which has to do with what they bring into the Nigerian economy, is sometimes small compared to what the 5% that you saw in the oil and in the oil sector is adding to the economy compared to what they've added. So definitely it's a good moment. What it means is that the tertiary sector of the Nigerian economy seems to be doing well, and that also have to do with people that are doing manual jobs. Talking about jobs for teachers, jobs for cleaners, jobs for nurses. Those are just like I said, the third tier of any economies. And what it means is that because of a lot of activities, especially in terms of infrastructure that the government is carrying out, we are beginning to see that that's why the service sector seems to be the most buoyant. But in terms of addition, in terms of value, which is in the area of what it brings to the country economy to stabilize the kind of crisis that we have in terms of FX, is very minimal compared to the 5% you're having from the crude oil sector.
How does the 3.46% growth relate to the inflation rate in the third quarter of 2024? Is the economic growth outpacing inflation, or is inflation becoming a concern despite the growth?
Inflation is a major concern despite the growth, and I think that's what the government is not addressing yet, and they seem to be celebrating this growth in terms of this growth has to do with a lot of productivity, not in terms of adding value to the life of the ordinary Nigeria, but in terms of productivity. We are seeing productivity in this sector, and you talk about the agricultural sector, which contributed so much to this sectorial growth, to sectorial growth in the service sector. But we're battling food crisis at the moment, high cost of living, especially in the area of food. So definitely that means you see some of these things doesn't really add up when you look at that. But in terms of productivity, what it means is that we are producing. But again, is it able to meet the demand, and then they have been able to process it to the relative communities that would need it, especially those in the urban area. And what have transportation done? What have cost of production impacted on that, and that's where the inflationary pressure comes in. The inflationary pressure is largely driven by cost of production. It's largely driven also by FX volatility, which is still there. We have not seen that stability. Rather, we have moved from stability to vulnerability in terms of risks by the FX market. So you can celebrate what you achieved now, but what you need to know is that it's not really having any effect on the ordinary Nigerian at the moment, which sometimes happens when you're having reforms. Reforms doesn't take the shape immediately. You see, but you begin to see little successes here and there. And maybe that's why the president is optimistic that by 2025 we'll begin to see which I call the real GDP, which will have to do with the area of creation of more jobs, not just manual jobs that we're talking about jobs that will come from the formal sector, not or underemployment that we are seeing that is not largely driven in the retail sector. So for me, I think it's good. But again, there's still a lot of work to be done so that Nigerians will begin to see the impact of what the reforms have added to them.
To what extent did foreign direct investment and domestic investment contribute to the GDP growth we're talking about? And what role did capital inflows play in driving the economic expansion?
Yeah, well, when you look at the retail sector that we're talking about, if you look at companies in that sector, they're actually suffering at the moment because of the FX volatility. So foreign direct investment is non-existent at the moment, and that's why you're seeing those FX challenges that we are having. So definitely capital importation has not been fantastic. But you could see sometimes when they bring in this figure, you look at capital importation in terms of value because of the exchange rate, then you think it's better than what it used to be. But when you look at in terms of output, in terms of productivity, in terms of output, which is majorly what drives capital importation, you realize that it's very, very small compared to last year when you look at the exchange rate there and now. So definitely foreign direct investment have not played a major role in what we are seeing. But the retail investors actually, which you look at the service sector, when you look at why in this service, you talk about agriculture, ICT, trading, manufacturing, crude oil, exception of crude oil, finance and insurance and real estate, they are largely driven by locals. Yeah, so that's why you see those are largely retail investors. And that's why the only one that seems to help in terms of bringing our reserve to a little bit of, will help boost our reserve is the crude oil sector. And that's why contributed as little as 5 points up. But when you look at the values adding to our reserve, trying to create that stability is more than what the totality of what you've seen in other sectors. So there's still a lot of work to be done. The only way that you see this adding value in terms of effects to our economy, which our economy generally needs now, is if these sectors like the ICT sector, the agricultural sector, the manufacturing sector, the trading sector are largely driven by foreign direct investors that are coming in to establish companies here. But rather what you see is that a lot of foreign companies are actually leaving Nigeria. So definitely this is largely driven by retail investors, probably that largely driven by locals or the retail investors in Nigeria at the moment.
Muktar, as always, thank you very much. And I must reiterate, I was so used to introducing you a different way that I was slightly thrown when I was introducing you as CEO Finance with Muktar. So the error was from me, not from my producers. Thank you again for your time.
That's the same applied to me. That's my own platform, CEO Finance with Muktar. So it's okay.
All right. All right, thanks again.